The real Alan Bates has stood up and has written a very interesting piece about um, a a road hauliers debate about a Supreme Court judgment um, about truck hauliers, which was made against large truck manufacturers that have been involved in some sort of cartel and litigation funding. And the problem of this judgment, as he points out, is that there's a technical issue which could well stop any efforts by smaller groups of individuals to challenge big business in exactly the same way that the post office victims were able to challenge the post office because they got together and because they were taken on by an organization of solicitors and barristers who were prepared to work for a payoff at the end. Now, if that is threatened, then that means that any big business, Apple, Google, some of the bigger mobile phone companies, can continue to rip off and abuse the smaller individuals, the smaller companies, knowing that they can tie up individuals and small companies in legal tricks um, and, and simply run out the time or the money available because they're bigger. And the only reason that the post office was brought to heel was because the victims were able to band together and were able to get legal representation. Now, it came at a huge price, it came at a huge cost. And when they were eventually found victorious, the amount of money they got after all the legal costs were paid was insignificant. That needs to be redressed now. But Alan Bates is absolutely right. If that route is denied on a technicality, then that means suddenly there's a green light for big businesses with deep pockets to continue abusing and running over small individuals, and that isn't good for anybody. The government has the ability to look at the PACCAR judgment, to look at the way digital markets are running, to look at the power of these big businesses, which are getting bigger and bigger by the day, by the minute. And an individual cannot stand up to them. And particularly now, when you when you feel there's something wrong, and you look at your bill and you think, no, this isn't right, and you ring up, you will end up speaking to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about anyway, and there's no sense of responsibility. It's very difficult to get a reply. You can't get an address. It's really tough taking on even the mobile phone companies. I know, I've tried. And banks, same sort of nonsense. And can we sit here? I was going to say, can we stand here? I'm clearly not standing. Can we sit here and say, hand on heart, I know my bank operates beautifully. I know my bank operates in my interest. No, it doesn't. If it can take money from me, it will. And the same thing with the telephone companies. And we live on a very, very brittle surface. And these big companies are so powerful. And we look to the government to ensure that there is the machinery for smaller people to band together to hold these big companies to account. Because if that isn't done, what's next?